Hey everybody, how's everyone doing? Doing a little mic check here. Mic check. How am I sounding? All right. Got to change my camera angle a little bit. There we go. This is the Retail Agentic Livestream. We are here to talk about the exciting news yesterday where Google announced their new Agentic Commerce features. So going to walk you through a couple of pieces of information here, and then we're going to jump into the demo. So a little bit about me. I'm Scott Wingo, CEO and co-founder of RefiBuy, and also write the Substack and the podcast Retail Agentic, where we talk all about agentic commerce optimization. I'm a multi-time entrepreneur here in the Research Triangle Park area and started ChannelAdvisor 2001 in the e-commerce space, went public 2013. 2022, the company was taken private by private equity and merged with Rhythm. So I'm no longer involved with that, but was out there at the beginning of Rhythm, if you're more familiar with that brand. Started RefiBuy this year to help retailers and brands explore what is going on with agentic commerce and how to optimize it. A lot of you may know me also from the Jason and Scott Show, one of the longest running, most rewarded podcasts out there for e-commerce. We talk a lot about Amazon and kind of Marketplace 1.0. And over on Retail Agentic, which is the topic today, we talk about what's going on with agentic commerce and all the various engines and what is new. And that's what's new this week. We had pretty exciting news from Google we're going to jump into. Before we do, let's kind of orient when I talk about agentic commerce, what am I talking about? There's a lot of arguments about definitions in our industry. So I like to make sure that everyone understands at the top what we mean by that. So when I say agentic commerce, I mean the embedded experience at the various answer engines where you have more actual in your conversation. You could be talking about anything. Sometimes maybe it's educational, maybe it's a DIY project, maybe it's a meal planning. In there, it is increasingly leading you into sometimes adjacent, but sometimes linear into the shopping funnel. And we like this mechanism that the way we call the funnel is research, find, and buy. It's the inspiration for our name. RefiBuy is the first two letters of those three words. And here I'm showing up at the top, I'm having a conversation, and then ChatGPT pops a product card, is what we call it. And what they've settled on is a 3-product card carousel that switches. It can have multiple products in there, but you only see 3. When you click on one of those product cards, you see offers. And then when you click on some of the offers, it'll either say visit or buy. If it says visit, you are then taken off. We call this a citation. So we have a whole different language in this versus what you're familiar with in the old SEO Google world. We don't have searches, we have prompts, and we don't have outbound links or traffic. We have citations. So you're there in citationed, and then you get the traffic to your website. Or if it says buy, you're kicked into a hosted checkout experience in this example of ChatGPT. What we're going to do is talk about Gemini, and it has more of an agentic where an agent goes and buys on your behalf. This is not the same thing as ChatGPT agent or operator or using an agentic browser. Those are different experiences. We're kind of in this bifurcated, diffuse world where there's like several shopping experiences. The best and most integrated is the embedded in the conversation experience. And that's what I'm going to show you on the Google side, where they are on this. So let's get a little backgrounder on Google because I get a lot of questions on this just to orient everybody. So Google, so what happened here is ChatGPT kind of came out of nowhere and started taking share and mind share from Google. And there's a ton of activity there that has caused Google to react in 3 ways. So number 1, they have 3 different ways that they are implementing AI. The first is called AI overviews, and that's what I'm showing here. So I like to call, so I'm going to call what we previously knew as Google, traditional Google. So you go to google.com, or it's integrated in your Safari experience, or you maybe use the Google app in your phone, or maybe you have Android and it's just kind of like the embedded search experience. That's traditional Google. So in traditional Google now, they're increasingly showing at the top an expanded view, which gives you an answer. And that's called AI overviews, commonly abbreviated AIOs. And that's the red box you see here. And it used to be, it was non-commercial terms. You would have this. So you'd say, what's the square root of pi? And it would just give you the answer. Or what's the weather today? And it would give you the answer versus sending you to a weather site. And then increasingly it's coming into the commercial. Here I'm looking for a skin moisturizer, and it's actually kind of starting to talk about some various products up there. Then it stops short, and then it takes me to traditional Google Shopping. So everything we're going to talk about is actually built on the backbone of traditional Google Shopping. Google Shopping lives over in the shopping tab on traditional Google. A lot of people don't go over there and do that, but it is increasingly integrated in these little information boxes like you see here. So you're actually looking at the Google Shopping graph, if you will, the product graph, integrated in traditional Google. And now with their recent releases, that is the core of what is driving this underlying agentic shopping with a lot of new stuff. The shopping graph has 50 billion products in it, and they're updated. 2 billion of them update every hour. So it is very robust, catalog. It's older, so it's been around for 10 plus years. It started in the frugal days. We won't go through all that history, but it's there. It's pretty robust. It's narrow. So the data they have at Google Shopping is pretty narrow because it comes from the old traditional world. Whereas I would say the ChatGPT new world has got wider data, meaning it's got more attributes. It wants way more content and context. So there's little apples and oranges there. It's going to be interesting to see if Google can build on this traditional foundation and get to the same level of sophistication that we see with ChatGPT over this next years when we'll kind of see this play out. The second initiative that Google has to kind of quote unquote catch up with ChatGPT and innovate is AI mode. So what you do is you go to traditional Google, which I've shown in the upper left box here, and then you have to go over to the right and explicitly say, I want to go into AI mode. And this is really, really kind of tricky because for me, it's constantly kicking me out of AI mode. It's very easy to click on something. Like if you click on a shopping tab or something that you normally would do in traditional Google, you're suddenly out of AI mode. And then you kind of are out of it. And what I've learned is I want to stay in AI mode, and I kind of have to fight to stay in it. So I always have to look at the upper left, and I've put a little red arrow there that says, okay, this is how you know you're in AI mode. And if that ever goes away, you're out of AI mode. So it's a little tricky. I think they need to work on that user interface, and all these things are work in progress. If you watch this much after 30 days after I've recorded it here on November 14th, 2025, you may have a totally different experience. That's how fast things are changing. But that's the situation we're in today. And the third one is Gemini. So to have this experience, you actually go to gemini.google.com. Now, this is where you're not kind of like in this Frankenstein added on to traditional Google. You're in a whole another basically application at this point. And this one you don't slip out of. Now, unfortunately, most of the features I'm going to show you today, I can find in AI mode, but I cannot replicate in Gemini most of the time. We'll do a little live experiment because it is changing all the time. And if you're in a corporate situation, you may actually not have access to Gemini. So I get this feedback a lot. So you may need to log in with your personal Gmail to even have access to this and some of the cool features. It does have a paid version. So they have a $20 and a $200 like tier, just like ChatGPT, a Pro and a Premium or whatever theirs is called. You may need... I have access to that, but it's not required to kind of see the things that I'm going to show you, if you will. Okay, so 3 modes that Google has: AI mode, so AI overviews, AI mode, and Gemini. Most of what I'm going to show you today, we're going to do in AI mode. We may pop over to Gemini, just kind of like show you, we'll kind of see how it goes. So this all started in June 20th. Google has their annual developer event called I/O, which is for input output. And so at Google I/O, they announced just some initiatives and they gave some previews. And they call it Inspire, Shop, and Buy. That's their version, the Google version of Research, Find, and Buy in my world. The first thing they announced was this kind of new tile. They have a name for it. I always forget what it is, but this kind of mosaic approach to showing you products, which is kind of a lot of the press call this Pinterest, but it's not it has like 1,000th of the features of Pinterest, but it's just kind of like an inspiration board type of a setup. So that was number one. And then number two, they did announce this agentic shopping feature. Now, this is interesting in that unlike ChatGPT, where you're just shopping and it'll go buy for you, you have to go through this trigger sequence. So you have to be shopping for something, set a price trigger, have that trigger fire, then hit buy for me, and then it will go do it for you. It kind of befuddles me why they've put all this behind this kind of very unusual sequence of things you have to do, but this is where they're starting. So yeah, that's how that works. So I've shown it to you here, and you initiate it. You have to do, so there's like 5 or 6 steps. So you have to like find a product you want, set a price tracker. I'll show you how to do that. Then it has to fire. So you have to like get a low price alert. Then in there you do buy for me. It goes and does a calculation, and over on the right, it gives you this kind of confirm, do you really want me to go do this for you? And then you say yes, and then it goes and does it, and it shows you this 3-step checkout. They call this buy for me. Interestingly, this is exactly what Amazon's feature is called that does the same thing. At some point, they're going to have some big legal argument over this buy for me language, I'm sure. But we'll see how that goes. And then yesterday, what they announced is that, number one, all the stuff I just showed you from Google I/O is live, and I will show you that except for the price trigger and the agentic checkout. Because it's got behind this sequence of events, I cannot get that sequence of events to fire for me. And so there's a couple things I can't replicate that I would love the crowdsource of the folks that follow our content to help see if you can replicate it. I get the sense, knowing Google, a lot of this stuff they love to put on Android first, because everyone at Google is kind of required to have an Android phone, even though many of them sneak iPhones at home. And so a lot of this stuff really is live there first, and then it kind of matriculates out to iPhone next, and then eventually the website. So I sense that there's something there. There's a very complicated matrix of, AI mode in Gemini by desktop Chrome, Mac, desktop Chrome, Windows, and then Android, iOS. And then even on those, you could either be in Chrome locally, or they tend to prefer you to be on the apps, the Gemini app or the Google app in AI mode to replicate these things. So I do have an Android device. I can't share it on a live stream. It's just not a thing with the technology we use. But I do have screenshots of everything. So yesterday they announced all that stuff's live, and most of it is in AI mode, and it's kind of coming to Gemini, and it kind of is on or off. So we'll see what we get today. And then they added a new thing. There's a really nice compare kind of function that I like that I'll show you. This is in the left screenshot there, where as you go through these product cards, they've got a bit of a longer presentation than you saw with ChatGPT, and you can check them and have it compare for you, which is pretty neat. And then they've got this let Google call functionality, which is where if you start to get into things that are very available locally, they use this example of electric cars, it will actually go and call local merchants for you. Unfortunately, I have not been able to replicate that one either. So 2 things I need help with: let Google call and buy for me. So if folks could go replicate that, figure out the right combination of that matrix of 52 boxes of where it's live, that would be great. We also got invited to a preview event in New York, which was really fun. It was called "Tis the Season to Shop with Google Shopping," and you go in there, and the big thing in PR and marketing is to have activations. So you go in and you have these like simulated little Christmas vignettes, if you will, and there was 5 of them. One I can't talk about; it's embargoed. It's not really germane to what we're talking about here. But you would go to the first station, for example, and they showed first a canned video, and then you can see the laptop over to the right there. Then they would actually walk through things, and you could ask them some questions. They gave you an Android device, a Pixel 10, to kind of work on that you could see a bunch of this stuff on. I couldn't replicate it on there either. I also have a Pixel 10. And then the second one you went, and that's where they showed. So the first one they showed the mosaic, and then also the compare functionality. The second vignette there in the middle that is where they showed the buy for me, and then also they showed the let Google call for me, or let Google call, I think it's called. And then over on the right, they had this at Retail Club. They really like this. They've shipped this mirror setup a number of places, so they can take your picture using this, and then you can try on those little outfits, and they'll show you what it looks like. They they show it what it looks like, and then you try it on to see how close it is, and it's freakishly close kind of thing. And then the bottom left is they just have a gift guide for top 100 things people are searching for, so nothing too exciting there. We track all this. So here's kind of where we are as we head into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, what I like to call this Cyber 5. Those 5 days are really the kickoff of the holiday selling season. So we have 9 players here that we're tracking, which are kind of the bigger companies in the U.S. Amazon's kind of off doing its own thing in a walled way. So we really have 8 players from this context. Perplexity's been alive for a while, and they're making a lot of improvements. ChatGPT is, we know that. The one that launched a little bit of stuff, so they're at research and find. They haven't gotten to the buy. There's a lot of rumors that we should see something here this week or next week. I guess it's almost too late this week. So next week we may see something from Microsoft. And then now we can put Google. All this stuff's powered by Gemini. That is squarely in the launched. The ones we're keeping an eye on are Apple, Anthropic, Meta, and Grok. At this point, it's going to look like next year before we see anything. Then there's literally hundreds of vertical shopping experiences. A lot of them are in the fashion category. There's some grocery, gifting, handmade. It's a really interesting category. We're going to have a lot more content next year on that category. And here's where they are. So that's the players. Here's where they are on kind of the game board, if you will. And I have this 5 levels of autonomy. I think Agentic Commerce it has an end game of full autonomy, but I think it's going to take a while for consumers and the technology to get there. And I think just like EVs, along the way, there's going to be these step functions where we start at the bookmarks are full agentic and nothing, and we're slowly but surely walking our way up to full agentic. Right now, we have 3 players on the buy button, if you will, and that's level 3. So you can actually buy through these systems and in a semi automated way. That's Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Google now. And then we're kind of waiting to see if Microsoft makes that last little step over. And then next year, we'll see what happens to the 4 guys that are kind of stuck on square zero. They're kind of in the, go back to square one kind of place on the Monopoly board here. So with that, let me put this away and let me share my screen. Okay. There we go. Hold on. Bloop. Let me do this. Yeah, okay. All right. So here, so let me just kind of orient you on this. So here I am at traditional Google, and I go over to AI mode, and I'm going to say, I am looking for a cutting board for a charcuterie. I have a hard time spelling that. Here we go. So here we see this mosaic mode, if you will. I'm going to move this over here and give you more to look at. I realize I've got a giant screen and I've got the window small for what you're seeing. Let's see if we can get it to resize. It's a little finicky. Sometimes I'll resize and it'll kick me out of AI mode. So I'm in AI mode, and you can kind of see I'm looking for inspiration. Oh, this one looks neat. If you're a big Canadian fan, there's a maple leaf and this kind of thing. Then you can start to refine. So they call this conversational commerce. Oh, this is the first time I've seen this guy. What do we got here? AI mode. Okay, I'm in AI mode. Silly. Okay. Are any of these made of birch? Maybe I love birch. I'm a birch fanatic. Okay, now we've got kind of more of a traditional product card kind of a setup. And here, now this is interesting. I've actually not seen this before. So here I've got a product card where, a little matrix where I can check 3 of them. And I'm going to say, compare these 3, please. So now I'm just going to do this comparison matrix I was telling you about. This is a nice user interface thing. Watch as I scroll. You see the bigger pictures? It will, oh, it's not going to scroll anymore. Okay. So here it gives me a little bit of a blurb by each one, its size, what it's made of, some advantages, and then considerations as they're kind of like disadvantages, but they, being Google, they don't say disadvantages. They say, here's some, here's some things you should think about. The user reviews say the wood is soft and you can have knife marks. So that's kind of a disqualifier, but anyway. And Google being so straight down the middle, I've pushed it to kind of recommend one, and it won't. It like refuses to basically make a choice for you. So you're kind of on your own there. But this is pretty handy where you could kind of say, these are all in the 30 price. I like to do a good, better, best when I do this. Amazon has a feature that's really nice where it automatically kind of figures out a good, better, best for you. And it's a little bit more leaning into helping you make a choice versus like giving you just data and it's very neutral. It's not even calling balls and strikes. It's just kind of saying, here, you make the choice. Amazon gets a little bit more aggressive with theirs and how they help make choices. Let me show you another version of that experience. Okay, so let me get back into AI mode. It kicked me out, and then I say, I am looking for a skin moisturizer. Okay. I have sensitive skin and need something under. So a lot of times in this conversational, you have to. I have this weird thing where when I'm on Google, I don't enter as much because I'm just trained to do keywords, and I have to remember to kind of start a conversation and be more conversational. So here I've gotten into the conversation, and now I can get to the point where I'm going to do a comparison. Let's do a good, better, best. So this is a 16 in this context, $16 one, a $7 one, and let's just throw another $14 one in there. Okay, now I'm going to do another comparison. Yeah, so this is what I was going to show you. This is like a nice. I always look for these little product pieces that show someone cares and is thinking about this. Is a little signal I always look for. So here it's giving me the CeraVe, the Equate, and the Cetaphil, and it's telling me what's going on. It gives me some reviews, which is handy. It tells me the texture, the ingredients, and then I like this. As I'm scrolling, it's going to keep the header there. So when I scroll, if it scrolls off, I kind of am losing track of which products in which column. So it shrinks them down. Did you see that animation in a kind of an animated way, which is really clever, and and you can kind of almost get it slowed down. I found that like a really nice touch that they added here, and that kind of thing. Here, I'll illustrate this. I'll try to get it to answer one for me. It's like, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to give you more information. So that's what that looks like. Now let's go to Gemini and just kind of have another similar experience. Let's see what we got. Oops, I mistyped. It's bored. Hopefully it'll fix that. Okay, over here, we're not getting that tiled, so we're already got a different experience, kind of a setup here. And then these are not really product cards. These are actually listings. This is like, well, no, it's actually a product card. Okay. So let's actually use this now. This is a nice Google Shopping feature where they actually build using AI a 3D view. You can see that. Okay. And let's use this to kind of show you how to get into, you're supposed to be able to get into the price trigger into the buy for me, and I'll illustrate that. Okay. So to get it to do buy for me, there's several requirements. Number one, it has to be you have to do the trigger, the price tracking and trigger. Number two, it has to be one of these merchants: Wayfair, Quince, Chewy. There's one more I can't remember, and they have more coming, but that's it. And then also those are already verified, so they're in. Down the road, the other requirement, as they add more, they have to have a guest checkout and they have to accept Google Pay. So there's a lot of a lot of what I would call ors. So you have to be doing this or that, or I mean ands. So there's a lot of ands. They have to be this and that and this and that. So it takes the available TAM and shrinks it way down. But that's how you start, and then you expand the TAM over time. We'll see how they do on that. So Wayfair is the only kind of the company in that list. I'm pretty sure Chewy doesn't have charcuterie boards that would be in this world. So I'm going to explicitly ask, does Wayfair carry? Now, sometimes it gets a little frustrating and it will not actually pop the little product card. So I've got to kind of get it to bend to my will. Come on. Ah. And then it shows me ones that aren't at Wayfair. Darn you, Gemini. Back over here. Let's start a new conversation. It's still an AI mode. Let's see if AI mode is going to cooperate. Yes. Okay. All right. Now we're in business. Okay. So here's how it should work. I should be able to come in here and say track price. And it just says tracking price. Okay. Let's do another one. I think I've done that one before. I track a lot of prices. I'm tracking that one too. Let's track this one. I can't possibly be tracking all these. All right. Let's see what this does. Usually it has a slider. I don't know why it's not doing that. I swear this experience changes every 5 seconds right now. It's actually dropped the price on it. It does have this really nice price history thing. I'm not sure how real that is. Just seems unusual. Like this seems unusual. It seems like a data problem. Like why would they raise their price for Halloween? I don't know. Now, in a perfect world, it would fire off, a price trigger, and then we would be able to make this more. That's strange. And then we'd be able to see what's going on here. And I would take you through the buy for me, but it's not. I cannot get a price to trigger for me on this. But this is what it looks like when you go through that process. Okay, let's go over here and say, my daughter has a trombone that was run over by the bus. Can you find a local retailer that has one in stock? It's kind of urgent. This is a made up story. Don't panic. I hope it doesn't ask me about trombones because I don't know anything about them. Needs to know where I am. Now I'm trying to get the Google call for me to go. Okay, I've got my local merchants and it's not offering to me. Let's try it over here. I'm going to start a new conversation. I'm in AI mode. I cut and pasted from over there. AI mode doesn't really care that my daughter's trombone got over by a bus. You can tell Gemini is very empathetic, and it says, "This is terrible. I totally understand." AI mode's like, "Yeah, don't really care. Let's find you a retailer." And here it has found some, so this is good. And what's supposed to happen? Let's see. Maybe I can do this. They're closed. They're open, and they're open. I'm going to try to see if I can nudge it to give them a call for me. Let's see. So I said, please compare these 3 stores. Let me know if they have trombones in stock. And if there's any way you could help me figure it out, that would be great. So it is not offering to call for me, and it wants me to call. So I cannot get the call for me to pop up. This is very similar to what they did. They did a prompt live that was, I am looking for a beginner's electric guitar under, I think it was 200. Let's do this one at Gemini too, just for fun. I think, yeah, I don't think we're gonna need to do the deep research model for a beginning electric guitar. Walmart. Let's see, we don't want that. Let's find another. These are all maybe here. Let's see. Compare this to. Go back over to Gemini. Okay, well, this is interesting. You can search the store hours and look based on sound music. Okay, I'm gonna try to get it today over here on Gemini. Back to AI mode, and it is not popping that for me. I'll even explicitly ask it. Please do what you're supposed to. It'll deny that it has this capability. I don't know what you're talking about. A search engine cannot make phone calls. Are you crazy? I'm sorry, I can't make phone calls for you. Okay, so we're kind of at an impasse. So a lot of the features that I want to show you are not really available through a live demo, but hopefully you enjoyed the matrix that I showed you, and you can kind of see the conversational aspect. And this should give you all you need to be able to look for these features on your own. I recommend going through this matrix of Gemini and AI mode, and then desktop. Definitely be on Chrome, and then it definitely won't fire if you're in another browser. I verified that. And then on a device, try to use the Google app in AI mode or the Gemini app and see what you get. All right, that concludes our live stream demo of these features. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see, were there any questions? Becca, any questions? There's a little bit of a lag. That. All right. I don't see any questions coming in. Seems like Google shows less sources than ChatGPT. Less than 10 for Google and offer around 20 for. Yeah, I would say they're definitely showing you less products in this thing as well. And I think over time they're going to widen the aperture on all this. They've got a very narrow aperture. As I mentioned, there's all these ands kind of in a loop that make it hard to find things. And I think over time we'll be able to see more. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this live stream. It will be available on replay.